Buried beneath the sands of time, the ancient world still whispers its secrets, and nowhere do those whispers feel more alive than in the land of the pharaohs. Picture this, a team of archaeologists brushing away centuries of dust to reveal an object untouched by human hands for over 3,000 years. The air crackles with anticipation. What stories does this artifact hold? What lost truths might it reveal about the rulers who once commanded the Nile? Today, we're pulling back the veil on 25 such treasures, unseen by modern eyes until now, each one poised to rewrite pieces of history we thought we knew. These aren't just relics, they're time capsules waiting to unravel mysteries buried with the kings and queens of Egypt. For generations, the pharaohs have captivated us, their grandeur, their power, their seemingly eternal legacy. But what if we've only scratched the surface, hidden in forgotten tombs, sealed within unmarked chambers, or mislabeled in museum archives? These artifacts lay dormant, their significance overlooked. Until now, recent breakthroughs in technology and archaeology have cracked open doors we once believed were sealed forever. Infrared scanning, ground-penetrating radar, and even artificial intelligence have become our modern-day torches, illuminating corners of history that darkness had claimed. The result, a treasure trove of objects that challenge what we thought we knew about daily life, religion, and even the politics of ancient Egypt's most enigmatic rulers. This is more than a collection of ancient items, it's a journey into the heart of a civilization that defies time. Imagine holding a dagger forged for a teenage king, its blade still sharp enough to draw blood. Or unrolling a papyrus scroll that details a royal scandal so explosive it was meant to be erased from memory. These artifacts don't just belong to Egypt, they're part of humanity's shared story, fragments of a puzzle that, when pieced together, show us who we were and perhaps who we still are. So settle in, because over the next few minutes, we're stepping into the shoes of those who uncovered these wonders, feeling the same spine-tingling awe as the first light hits gold that hasn't gleamed in millennia. The age of the pharaohs isn't over, it's just beginning to speak. The first artifact on our journey is as dazzling as it is mysterious, the Golden Ibis of Thoth, unearthed in a hidden chamber beneath the sands near Saqqara. Picture a life-sized bird statue, its body shimmering with the radiant glow of electrum, an ancient alloy of gold and silver prized by the pharaohs. But it's the details that steal your breath, ruby eyes that seem to flicker with life under torchlight, delicate feathers etched with precision so fine, they ripple like real plumage in the desert wind. This wasn't just a decorative piece, it was a sacred vessel, a messenger between worlds. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, writing, and magic, was one of Egypt's most revered deities. The ibis was his sacred animal, a symbol of divine knowledge, and this statue was far more than an offering. When researchers carefully lifted it, they heard the faint rustle of papyrus inside. The hollow body concealed scrolls, tightly rolled and untouched for millennia, their hieroglyphs unlike any seen before. Some symbols matched known temple inscriptions, but others. They were entirely new, a linguistic puzzle that could rewrite our understanding of Thoth's cult. Were these spells lost hymns, or perhaps, as one daring theory suggests, a secret archive hidden by priests to protect sacred knowledge from invaders? What makes this discovery so extraordinary isn't just its craftsmanship or even its hidden contents. It's the story it whispers about power and devotion. Electrum was reserved for royalty and the gods, a metal literally meant to mirror the sun's glow. That this ibis was made of it tells us the scrolls inside were no ordinary texts, they were treasures, worthy of a god's own vessel. And then there's the location, Saqqara, the sprawling necropolis where pharaohs and nobles sought eternity. But this chamber wasn't part of any known tomb. It was tucked away, deliberately isolated, as if someone wanted these secrets to survive but not to be found easily. As experts painstakingly unroll the fragile papyrus, we're left to wonder, what wisdom did Thoth's priests deem so vital, so dangerous, that it had to be locked inside golden wings? Every stroke of ink could be a revelation, a lost verse in humanity's oldest conversation with the divine. This ibis isn't just an artifact, it's a key waiting to turn in the lock of history. The scrolls concealed within the Golden Ibis held more than just hymns or spells. They were a labyrinth of ink and papyrus, a puzzle that would push linguists to the edge of their understanding. At first glance, the hieroglyphs seemed familiar, echoing the standard temple inscriptions dedicated to Thoth. But then the script twisted. Symbols morphed into unfamiliar configurations, some resembling celestial maps, others arranged like chemical equations. It was as if the priests had woven a code within a code, safeguarding secrets behind layers of sacred shorthand. The most startling revelation, a series of astronomical diagrams predicting celestial events with impossible accuracy, alignments of stars that wouldn't occur for another 1,000 years after the scrolls were penned. How could a civilization without telescopes chart the heavens with such precision? One theory suggests the knowledge came not from observation, but from something far more extraordinary, whispered divine secrets passed down from Thoth himself. Then there was the recipe, tucked between star charts and ritual incantations. A single column of text stood out, a meticulous list of ingredients, measurements, and instructions for creating a substance called the tears of the moon. Modern chemists analyzing the formula were baffled. It called for crushed lapis lazuli, mercury extracted from cinnabar, and a plant known only as the breath of the desert, all to be distilled under a specific lunar phase. Laboratory recreations yielded a silvery liquid that defied classification, non-toxic, strangely luminous, and capable of preserving organic tissue indefinitely in early tests. Was this the legendary immortality serum mentioned in temple myths, the same elixir whispered to have been drunk by pharaohs before their journey to the afterlife? The implications are staggering. If this substance truly halted decay, it could explain the meticulous preservation of certain mummies, their flesh eerily intact despite millennia passing. But here's the twist: the scrolls warn against its use. A single line written in frantic, oversized hieroglyphs reads, "To drink the tears is to bind the soul to the scales forever." Was this a divine caution, a metaphor for the weight of eternal life, or something darker, a physical truth hidden behind poetic language? Modern researchers are divided. Some believe the serum was symbolic, a ritual tool rather than a literal potion. Others point to ancient accounts of walking spirits, mummies said to stir in their tombs, as possible evidence of horrifying side effects. The deeper translators delve, the more questions arise. Why hide this knowledge inside a golden ibis? Why bury it away from tombs as if fearing the dead might find it? Perhaps the priests knew some truths were too dangerous to share even with the pharaohs. The scrolls of Thoth don't just challenge our understanding of Egyptian science. They force us to confront the uncomfortable idea that some secrets, even 3,000 years later, might still be too volatile to uncover. Buried in the shadow of a ruined temple in Amarna, a discovery sent shockwaves through the world of Egyptology, a mirror so flawlessly crafted, it defied the very limits of ancient technology. Nefertiti's obsidian mirror, unearthed in a modest tomb far from the grandeur of royal burials, wasn't just a tool for vanity. This oval of volcanic glass, polished to a supernatural sheen, reflected with such clarity that modern conservators initially mistook it for a piece of misplaced modern art. But the real marvel lay on its reverse side, a carved portrait of Nefertiti unlike any other, her iconic beauty framed by a crown of serpents, a symbol never before linked to her reign. Obsidian, a stone forged in the fires of volcanoes, was sacred to the ancients, believed to be a portal between worlds, a substance that could reveal hidden truths. This mirror's surface was so smooth, so unnervingly perfect, that it reportedly reflected not just faces, but fleeting glimpses of movement from the corners of empty rooms, as if catching shadows of a forgotten court. Workers at the dig site swore they saw figures in the glass when no one stood before it. Scientific analysis only deepened the mystery. The obsidian came not from Egypt, but from a single, long-dormant volcano in Ethiopia, a journey of over 1,000 miles. How did artisans transport such a fragile slab without fracturing it? And why go to such lengths for a mirror? The answer may lie in that serpent crown. Nefertiti's traditional depictions show her in the blue war crown or the tall, flat-topped headdress of a queen. But here she wears coiling asps, their mouths open as if hissing, a symbol reserved for deities and destroyers. This wasn't just a queen, this was Nefertiti as a living goddess, a wielder of divine wrath. Some scholars argue the mirror was a ritual object used to channel her gaze into the underworld. Others point to whispered accounts of her final years when she may have ruled alone under a new name, smiting enemies with the fury of a cobra. Then there's the tomb itself. Unlike the golden splendor of Tutankhamun's burial, this chamber was austere, almost hidden. Only the mirror gleamed among simple pottery, as if placed in haste or as a warning. Was it a safeguard against grave robbers, its polished surface meant to trap cursed reflections, or a final message from a queen who knew her legacy would be erased? The mirror doesn't just reflect light, it reflects Nefertiti's most dangerous truth, that her power was far greater, far more terrifying than history ever dared record. Now, under museum lights, the obsidian still shines with that impossible gleam. But those who study it too long report strange things. A whisper of fabric rustling just beyond sight, the faintest scent of lotus oil in sterile labs. Perhaps some artifacts refuse to be mere objects. Perhaps they remain what they always were, alive with the presence of those who once held them. The bloodstained Khopesh of Ahmose isn't just a weapon, it's a relic of rebellion, a blade that still carries the echoes of a war that reshaped Egypt. Unearthed near the ruins of Avaris, the ancient Hyksos stronghold, this curved sword gleams with a sinister sheen, its bronze edge darkened by something modern science would later confirm: dried human blood preserved for over 3,500 years in the arid desert air. But it's the leather wrapped around its hilt that tells the darkest part of the story. Fragments of Hittite armor, torn and threaded into the grip as a gruesome trophy. This wasn't just a ceremonial showpiece, it was a tool of vengeance wielded in the fires of Egypt's war to reclaim its soul. Forensic analysis revealed chilling details. The blood matched genetic markers linked to Hyksos rulers, invaders who had dominated Lower Egypt for generations before Pharaoh Ahmose rallied his people to drive them out. The Khopesh's unique curvature, designed to hook shields and limbs, bore microscopic notches, evidence of brutal combat. But here's what froze researchers' blood: the leather wasn't just from any Hittite. Isotope testing traced it to a specific region in Anatolia, home to the Hyksos elite. This wasn't random loot, it was a deliberate message carved into history. Ahmose didn't just defeat his enemies, he turned their pride into his weapon's grip, a warning etched in skin and metal. Yet the sword's legend doesn't end with archaeology. Locals near Avaris still speak of it in hushed tones, calling it the cursed moon of Ahmose. For centuries, anyone who dared touch the blade reportedly suffered nightmares, visions of sand choking their lungs, of voices screaming in a forgotten tongue. Even museum staff documented strange phenomena: cameras malfunctioning near its display case, the scent of charred flesh lingering in empty corridors. Science scoffs, but history whispers a darker possibility. Ancient texts describe Ahmose's priests performing a ritual called the binding, sealing the souls of the slain within their conquerors' weapons. Was the Khopesh more than a sword? Was it a prison? The Khopesh forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth: history isn't just written by the victors, it's forged in their violence. Every stain, every scratch on that blade is a syllable in a story of resistance and ruthlessness. Today, it sits behind glass, its edge still sharp enough to draw blood. But the real cut is deeper. It's the reminder that some artifacts don't just document history, they carry its weight, its rage, and perhaps its unfinished business. High on the walls of the Dendera temple, a carving has ignited debates for centuries, an object so shockingly modern, it seems to defy the timeline of human innovation. The so-called Dendera Lightbulb depicts a lotus flower cradling what appears to be a glowing filament, encased in a transparent vessel supported by a column. Skeptics dismissed it as a symbolic representation of a snake emerging from a lotus, but recent discoveries have turned that theory on its head. Hidden in a sealed storage chamber beneath the temple, archaeologists uncovered fragments of the original bas-relief, along with something far more provocative: strands of oxidized copper wire still threaded through grooves in the stone, and residue tests revealing traces of citric acid and fermented grape vinegar, substances ancient Egyptians used as primitive electrolytes. The implications are staggering. If this wasn't mere symbolism but a functional device, it would rewrite our understanding of ancient technology. The copper filaments match descriptions in priestly texts of the serpent's fiery breath, said to illuminate sacred rites without flame or smoke. The acidic residue suggests a possible power source, a crude but effective battery, echoing the infamous Baghdad batteries found in Mesopotamia. But here's the detail that silences skeptics. The grooves holding the wires align perfectly with the carving's filament, forming a closed circuit when reconstructed. This wasn't just art imitating myth, it was a technical diagram preserved in stone. Why would priests go to such lengths to encode this knowledge? The answer might lie in Dendera's role as a center of esoteric learning. Known as the Hatchery of the Gods, the temple was dedicated to Hathor, deity of sky and cosmic energy. Its inner chambers describe rituals involving light without fire, said to reveal hidden truths to initiates. Were these bulbs part of an illumination system, allowing priests to manipulate light in pitch-black sanctuaries? Or were they, as some fringe theorists suggest, components in a larger apparatus, an ancient projector, casting celestial maps onto temple ceilings? The true purpose of the Dendera fragment may never be fully known. Its creators took pains to obscure its function, embedding clues in myth and stone rather than plain instruction. But one thing is certain, this artifact forces us to question the boundaries of ancient ingenuity. In a world where we assume electricity was discovered, not inherited, the Dendera Lightbulb stands as a silent challenge, a flicker in the dark, waiting for us to recognize its glow. Ramses III's silver dagger gleams with a metallic luster unlike anything else in his burial chamber. Not gold, not bronze, but something far stranger. When archaeologists first pried it from the pharaoh's mummified grip in the ruins of Tanis, they assumed it was ceremonial. Then the blade was tested. The results sent shockwaves through laboratories worldwide. This dagger wasn't forged from earthly ore. Its composition matched meteoric iron, a metal that fell from the cosmos, carrying traces of nickel and cobalt found only in asteroids. But the real mystery lies etched along its hilt hieroglyphs, proclaiming it a gift from the Star People, a phrase scribed with deliberate reverence, as if the givers were neither gods nor men, but something in between. Meteoric iron was no stranger to ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun's tomb contained a similar blade, but Ramses' dagger is different. Its craftsmanship is eerily advanced, the metal folded and tempered in a technique that shouldn't have existed for another 1,000 years. The inscriptions deepen the enigma. They describe the dagger as born from the sky's tears, a weapon forged in the belly of the wandering star, most chilling of all. A single line near the pommel reads, "To wield it is to hold the heavens' wrath," suggesting this wasn't just a status symbol. It was a tool of last resort, perhaps even a relic of contact. Legends from Ramses' reign speak of fire-haired visitors who brought gifts of unbreakable silver, Some scholars dismiss these accounts as myth, but the dagger's metallurgy begs otherwise. The nickel-to-iron ratio in its blade matches a specific meteorite strike recorded in Egyptian annals during Ramses' 5th year of rule, a celestial event so bright it was said to turn night into day for 3 sunrises. Could debris from that impact have been worked into this blade? And who were the star people skilled enough to shape it? The pharaoh's own scribes left conflicting clues. One scroll calls them teachers, another wanderers, but never gods. Then there's the wound. Forensic scans of Ramses' mummy reveal a deep, precise incision beneath his left rib, a stab wound that likely killed him. The angle suggests the blade entered upward, as if thrust by someone shorter or kneeling. No records mention an assassination, yet the dagger's placement in his hand feels staged, a silent admission. Was this the weapon that ended the great warrior king? And if so, why bury him with it clutched so tightly, as if in warning? The answers might lie in the blade's celestial origins. Meteoric iron was sacred, believed to carry the essence of the gods. By burying Ramses with a star-forged dagger through his own flesh, perhaps his priests were attempting to bind his soul to the cosmos, ensuring his spirit couldn't wander or seek vengeance. Today, the dagger rests in Cairo's museum, its edges still sharp enough to draw blood, but the real cut is metaphysical. This artifact blurs the line between legend and history, between the earthly and the extraterrestrial. It whispers of a time when the sky wasn't just a void but a highway, delivering secrets we're only beginning to decipher. The hieroglyphs curling around Ramses' dagger tell a story that refuses to fit neatly into history's ledger. Translated literally, they speak of those who descended in fiery boats, beings who walked as men but spoke the language of the stars. Mainstream Egyptology dismisses this as poetic metaphor, a description of comets or celestial deities. But compare these words to the pyramid texts carved millennia earlier in the tombs of Unas and Pepi, and patterns emerge. Both mention sky travelers bearing gifts of impossible knowledge. Both describe their vessels as boats that burn without wood, and crucially, both distinguish these figures from gods. They're called the Wise Ones from afar, never given divine titles like Ra or Osiris. The dagger's inscription takes it further, specifying that these visitors taught metalworkers to capture the sky's iron and shape it with cold fire, a phrase modern metallurgists recognize as shock-chilling, a technique to strengthen meteoric metal. Traditional scholars argue this is mere mythology, but consider this. The chemical signature of Ramses' blade matches no known earthly ore, yet aligns perfectly with a meteorite that struck Libya around 1250 BCE, an event documented in temple records as the night the sky bled. Coincidence or evidence that someone, perhaps those very star people, guided Egyptians to harvest and work this cosmic material? The most provocative clue lies in the grammatical structure of the hieroglyphs themselves. Normally, Egyptian inscriptions use rigid formulas for describing gods or foreign dignitaries, but here the phrasing is startlingly casual, even intimate. The visitors are said to have eaten bread with the king and sung strange songs at dusk. These aren't the formalized praises of deities, they're first-hand observations, as if scribed by someone who'd shared a meal with these strangers. Even the term star people breaks convention, written with a rare determinative glyph showing hooded figures, not the usual star or falcon symbols reserved for celestial beings. Debunkers point to the Amarna letters, diplomatic correspondence showing Egypt's trade with distant cultures. Could fiery boats simply be poetic license for Phoenician ships with bronze prows gleaming in sunlight? Perhaps, but then how to explain the Dendera Lightbulb's wiring, or the precision of the dagger's alloy technologies that leapfrog established Bronze Age capabilities? The truth may straddle both worlds, not literal extraterrestrials, but an advanced seafaring culture now lost, whose knowledge seemed so revolutionary, it could only be framed as otherworldly. What lingers is the dagger's final chilling line. They left as they came, promising to return when the sky serpent eats its tail, an eclipse, a comet's cyclical return. Or something we've yet to decipher. Ramses' silver blade doesn't just cut through flesh, it slices through the fabric of history, leaving us to stitch together a story we're only beginning to read. Deep beneath the temple complex at Abydos, a discovery churned the sands of controversy, a pristine limestone seal, untouched for millennia, stamped with the unmistakable paw print of Anubis. This was no ordinary barrier. The seal, carved from a single slab and inscribed with warnings in archaic hieroglyphs, barred entry to a tunnel descending into the earth at an alarming angle. But it was the thermal scans that sent researchers into a frenzy. Behind the seal, infrared imaging revealed not just a passage, but an entire network of chambers, some large enough to swallow the Great Pyramid's Grand Gallery whole. The scale defied logic. Who or what required such a vast subterranean space in a city already overflowing with tombs and temples? The hieroglyphs on the seal offer chilling clues. Unlike typical tomb curses invoking divine wrath, these markings read like a legal decree, a binding contract between the living and the dead. The text explicitly forbids entry to those who walk in daylight, threatening not just spiritual consequences but physical ones. The breath of the underworld shall fill their lungs. Skeptics dismissed it as superstition, but then came the first excavation attempt. Workers reported a sudden, inexplicable drop in temperature the moment drills touched the seal's edges. Equipment failed. Cameras captured distorted images as if the very air inside the tunnel resisted observation. Within hours, government officials arrived, ordering work to cease indefinitely. No explanation was given, just a terse statement about preservation concerns. What makes this seal so provocative isn't just its existence, but its timing. Abydos was ancient Egypt's spiritual heartland, home to the Osirian, a mysterious underground structure aligned with the constellation Orion. This newly discovered tunnel angles precisely toward that same celestial marker. Was it a hidden extension of the Osirian's cosmic blueprint, a secret archive for rituals too dangerous to perform under open sky? The government's abrupt intervention only fuels theories. Independent researchers point to similar seals found near the Sphinx and in the Dasher complex, all subsequently walled off by authorities. Yet one detail haunts historians. The Anubis paw isn't carved, it's pressed into the limestone, as if the god himself laid it there while the stone was soft. Geologists confirm the impression matches no known tool. Either it's the work of an artisan so skilled their technique remains unmatched, or we're left with a far more unsettling possibility, that some doors were never meant to be opened. Today, the seal remains in place, its chambers humming faintly on thermal scans, their secrets still pulsing just beyond reach. Whatever lies behind it challenges not just our understanding of ancient Egypt, but the very boundaries of what we're permitted to know. The alabaster vial rested in the sands of Deir el-Bahri for 3,500 years until the moment its stopper, still sealed with beeswax, was pried loose under laboratory lights. Inside, a mere trace of residue clung to the vessel's walls, darkened by time yet still exuding a ghost of its former power. This wasn't just any perfume, this was Hatshepsut's legendary Tears of the Sun. A scent so potent, temple inscriptions claimed it could bring deities to their knees with longing. Modern science has now confirmed what ancient scribes swore was divine hyperbole. This perfume was a masterpiece of extinct botany and forbidden alchemy, brewed from ingredients we can no longer find on Earth. Residue analysis revealed a symphony of vanished flora, blue lotus harvested under full moons, petals of the silphium plant, a herb so coveted. Romans drove it to extinction, and rarest of all, the crushed stamens of an orchid that grew only in the shadow of the Theban cliffs. But the true shock came from animal compounds. Mixed with these delicate florals was a musk so intense, spectrometers initially flagged it as toxic. Further testing identified it as the glandular secretion of the Nubian civet, a creature extinct since the New Kingdom. This wasn't just perfume, it was a sensory weapon designed to overwhelm. One drop on a researcher's glove perfumed an entire lab for days, its base notes shifting from honeyed sweetness to something darker, smoky, animalic, unnervingly alive. Ancient texts describe Hatshepsut anointing her wrists with this elixir before addressing her court, her very presence bending the room to her will. Now we understand why. The civet musk contained pheromones that trigger primal brain responses, while the silphium acted as a mild hallucinogen when inhaled deeply. This wasn't merely adornment, it was psychological theater, a tool to heighten her aura of otherworldly command. Even the vial's shape played a role. Its narrow neck released the scent in controlled bursts, like a serpent's calculated strike. Yet the most poignant detail lies in what wasn't there. Every royal perfume of this era included myrrh as a sacred base. Hatshepsut omitted it entirely. Was this defiance, a rejection of funerary tradition in favor of something more visceral, more alive, or perhaps a clue to her final, mysterious erasure from history? The vial's discovery in a humble storeroom, not her grand mortuary temple, suggests someone tried to bury her essence along with her name. Today, attempts to recreate Tears of the Sun fall short. The silphium's genetic code is lost, the civet's glands impossible to replicate. But in that alabaster vessel, we have something more precious than a scent, proof that Hatshepsut's power wasn't just political. It was elemental, a fusion of science and sorcery that clung to the air like a rumor long after she was gone. The crocodile mummy seemed ordinary at first, one of hundreds dedicated to Sobek, the Nile's feared and revered god. But when researchers at the Egyptian Museum placed it in a CT scanner, the screen flickered with an impossible glint. Nestled within the beast's desiccated stomach, wrapped in layers of ancient linen, was a scroll so pure, its gold leaf still gleamed through 3 millennia of darkness. Unrolled with painstaking care, the sheet revealed not prayers or spells, but a map, one that charted a winding path through the Nubian desert to a site marked with a single ominous hieroglyph, a mound guarded by upside-down figures, their eyes closed yet somehow watching. The map's precision stunned archaeologists. It matched no known mining route from the New Kingdom, yet geological surveys confirmed its accuracy, leading to a previously unmapped valley where iron deposits stained the sand red. But it was the accompanying text that turned excitement to unease. The scroll warned of the sleeping ones beneath the sand, beings who would rise when the gold thirsts. Local legends whispered in Nubian villages echoed this dread, speaking of a cursed valley where diggers vanished, their tools found beside freshly dug pits with no footprints leading away. Modern science offers grim validation. Soil tests from the mapped site show abnormal electromagnetic fluctuations, and satellite imagery reveals unnatural geometric patterns beneath the dunes, structures too angular to be natural formations. Some theorists suggest an extinct civilization predating dynastic Egypt might lie buried there, their technology or rituals deemed taboo by later rulers. Others point to the scroll's eerie phrasing. The sleeping ones aren't called gods or demons, but those who came before, a term elsewhere used only for the mythical Shemsu Hor, the shadowy predecessors said to have ruled Egypt before the first pharaoh. Perhaps most unsettling is the crocodile itself. Why place such a volatile document inside a sacred mummy? Sobek was both protector and destroyer, a deity invoked to guard secrets as fiercely as he guarded the Nile's bounty. The priests who sealed this scroll chose their vessel well, a creature that could swallow threats whole, keeping them submerged in silence. Today, the gold mines remain untouched, their location exact but their danger palpable. The scroll doesn't just map a place, it voices a warning across centuries, etching a boundary even modern curiosity hesitates to cross. As the CT scan's ghostly image lingers on monitors, one detail chills the blood. the crocodile's jaws, forever parted in a silent snarl, seemed to frame the map's final glyph, not a word but a sound. The hiss of shifting sand. At the heart of Amarna's ruins, where Akhenaten's radical sun worship once reshaped an empire, archaeologists uncovered an object that seems to defy its era, a palm-sized disk of flawless quartz, ground to a curvature so precise, it bends sunlight into a needle-thin beam capable of etching stone. At first glance, this solar lens appears deceptively simple, its surface smooth as liquid. But when researchers recreated its dimensions using ancient tools, they realized the terrifying truth. This wasn't just a magnifying glass. It was a weapon, a surgical instrument, or perhaps something far more unsettling, a divine mouthpiece. The lens's optical properties are shockingly advanced. Modern engineers calculate its focal point to within a millimeter, capable of generating temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit when angled toward the sun. Hieroglyphs near its discovery site describe the Aten's finger, a tool that could scorch truth into flesh. Medical papyri from Akhenaten's reign mention a procedure where priests used concentrated daylight to remove tumors or cauterize wounds, lending credence to theories of its healing purpose. But other tablets tell darker stories of heretics branded with solar sigils, their screams said to carry prayers directly to the sun god. Then there's the enigma of its material. This quartz wasn't local. Spectrographic analysis traces its origins to the Libyan desert's Great Sand Sea, a region avoided by Egyptians due to its cursed winds. Yet someone transported this massive crystal block hundreds of miles, then painstakingly polished it without modern abrasives. The craftsmanship suggests a knowledge of optics centuries ahead of its time. Was this lens designed with divine inspiration, as Akhenaten claimed, or did the so-called heretic pharaoh inherit forgotten technology from an even older cult of sun worshippers? Most haunting are the burn marks found on the ruins' altars, not random scorching, but deliberate spiral patterns that match the lens's focal signature. These aren't sacrifices, they're messages. When the lens projects sunlight through Akhenaten's peculiar hieroglyphs, shorter, squatter than traditional carvings, the beams cast distorted shadows that resolve into older, forbidden symbols, those of Ra's ancient rival, the serpent god Apophis. Was the pharaoh communicating with opposing forces, or performing a dangerous balancing act between light and darkness? Today, the lens sits in darkness, too volatile to expose to modern sunlight. But its legacy burns brighter than ever. It forces us to reconsider Akhenaten's reign not as mere religious rebellion, but as a collision of faith and proto-science where the boundary between healing and harming, between prayer and punishment, was as razor-thin as the beam it focused from the heavens. The scorch marks on the temple floor weren't random. Forensic scans revealed something far more deliberate: patterns of charred human bone fragments embedded in the stone, their edges fused by heat so intense it left glassy streaks in the granite. These weren't the remains of careless laborers or accidental fires. The bones were arranged in precise semicircles, radiating outward from a central point where the solar lens must have once been mounted. Chemical analysis confirmed the terrifying truth. The burns matched the lens's unique thermal signature, with traces of quartz dust fused into the bone at a molecular level. These were executions, not sacrifices, and they left a message not in ink but in seared flesh. Wall carvings nearby depict the grim ritual in chilling detail. Prisoners bound at the wrists, their heads shaved, kneel before beams of concentrated sunlight, their bodies contorted in agony as the light etches symbols into their skin. But here's the twist: the symbols weren't random curses or divine judgments. They were equations, geometric calculations for planetary movements, harmonic ratios found in sacred architecture, even what appear to be chemical notations for purifying gold. These victims weren't just being punished, they were being used as living parchment, their screams a macabre form of data storage. Some scholars argue the extreme pain served a ritual purpose that the dying mind, pushed beyond endurance, could channel divine knowledge. Others point to the charred remains of metallic implants found among the bones, suggesting the victims may have been forced to ingest or wear conductive materials to somehow focus the light's transmission. The most unsettling detail: some of the remains show signs of healing before death. These weren't single, fatal burns, but repeated exposures over time, as if the victims were kept alive as part of an ongoing experiment. One rib cage, preserved by the very heat that killed its owner, bears layers of scar tissue between each scorched hieroglyph, evidence that the prisoner survived long enough for their wounds to partially heal before the next session. Modern forensic anthropologists compare it to medieval torture, but with a chilling precision that borders on clinical. What could justify such brutality? The answer may lie in the lens's dual nature. Just as it could cauterize wounds in skilled hands, it could also inscribe knowledge directly into living tissue, perhaps as a way to bypass papyrus or stone materials that could decay or be stolen. The victims, likely enemies of Akhenaten's radical new order, became unwilling archives, their bodies transformed into brutal libraries of forbidden science. Today, their silent screams echo in the data we've recovered, a fusion of cruelty and calculus that forces us to confront the dark price of ancient innovation. The solar lens wasn't just a tool, it was a teacher, and its lessons were written in fire. Buried between the linen wrappings of a minor noble's mummy, a single scrap of papyrus defies everything we thought we knew about the Book of the Dead. This isn't just another funerary text, it's a portal to the impossible. The fragment, no larger than a human hand, contains spells so bizarre they read like excerpts from a physics textbook crossed with a shaman's fever dream. One passage describes passing through solid stone as the hawk passes through wind, with meticulous instructions for aligning one's ka or life force in a spiraling pattern against the threads of the world. Another passage features a diagram that made modern physicists do a double take, a series of interconnected dots and waves that eerily resemble quantum probability diagrams, mapping the potential paths of a subatomic particle. How could a civilization without microscopes conceptualize the behavior of matter at scales invisible to the naked eye? The language used in these spells is equally confounding. Where traditional Book of the Dead texts invoke gods like Anubis or Osiris, this version speaks of the unseen builders, entities who weave the walls of reality and can be petitioned to unstitch them temporarily. The verbs are startlingly active. Spells don't request divine intervention, they command physical laws to bend. Carbon dating places the fragment in the late 18th dynasty, a time of rampant religious experimentation under Akhenaten's disruptive reign. Was this a heretical outlier or evidence of a secret tradition hiding in plain sight? Then there's the ink itself. Spectral analysis revealed traces of orpiment, a toxic arsenic sulfide mineral used to create vivid yellow pigments but mixed with something else. A compound resembling graphene, an ultra-thin carbon structure only officially discovered in 2004. The scribe couldn't have known its properties, yet the inclusion suggests deliberate intent. Graphene conducts electricity with near-zero resistance. Was this ink meant to carry more than words, to act as some sort of conductive pathway for the spell's supposed effects? Most haunting of all is the mummy who held it. Unlike the elite typically buried with Book of the Dead scrolls, this was a mid-level bureaucrat named Pazer, whose tomb showed no signs of wealth or status. Except for one detail, his burial chamber's northern wall bore faint scratches as if someone or something had tried to claw its way out from the inside. The papyrus was found clutched in his skeletal hand, its edges frayed from frantic gripping. Did Pazer attempt one of these rituals in death, and if so, what might have gone wrong? Modern physicists have cautiously theorized that the walking through walls instructions could be a poetic description of quantum tunneling, where particles bypass physical barriers. But that raises an even more unsettling question. Were the ancient Egyptians observing natural phenomena they couldn't yet explain, or were they engineering them? The fragment offers no answers, only whispers of a knowledge so dangerous it was pared down to a single scrap, hidden where even the gods might overlook it. Today, the papyrus sits in a nitrogen-filled case, too fragile to handle. Yet sometimes, under the right light, those ink diagrams seem to shimmer, as if the particles they depict are still in motion, waiting for someone to read them aloud. The silver scorpion of Serket doesn't just stand there, it waits. Unearthed in a hidden chamber beneath the temple of Edfu, this life-sized statue of the goddess Serket's sacred creature is a masterpiece of ancient metallurgy and menace. Cast from pure silver, its segmented body moves with eerie fluidity, each joint engineered to articulate like a living scorpion. But it's the hollow stinger that chills the blood, a needle-fine tube leading to an internal reservoir, still crusted with a dried, viscous residue after 3,000 years. Laboratory tests confirmed the unthinkable. This wasn't ceremonial. The residue contained traces of lethal venom from the deathstalker scorpion, mixed with opium and honey. A cocktail designed to kill or to heal. The duality of Serket's cult is key to unraveling this artifact's purpose. As goddess of venomous creatures, she was both protector and punisher. Priests invoked her to cure stings, yet her temples also housed execution chambers. The scorpion's design reflects this paradox. Its venom reservoir could deliver a fatal dose with the precision of a modern syringe, but the opium suggests an anesthetic application, perhaps for surgeries or euthanasia. Hieroglyphs near the discovery site describe the sting that chooses, hinting at a judicial role. Criminals or political enemies may have been subjected to a divine trial. A controlled sting to determine guilt. Survival implied innocence. Death confirmed the god's judgment. Modern forensic analysis of nearby skeletal remains supports this theory. Several mummies show puncture wounds matching the scorpion's stinger, their bones flecked with metallic residue from the silver needle. Yet the most unsettling feature isn't the venom, it's the statue's behavior. When placed on a surface warmed to human body temperature, the silver contracts slightly, causing the tail to arch and the stinger to extend autonomously. Engineers studying the mechanism found tiny channels filled with a now petrified organic fluid, likely mercury or temperature-sensitive plant resins. This wasn't just a static idol, it was designed to react, mimicking a live scorpion's threat display. Was it meant to intimidate the condemned, or did the priests believe Serket herself could animate it during rituals? The craftsmanship pushes the boundaries of known Egyptian technology. The movable segments employ a rudimentary ball and socket system, centuries ahead of similar mechanisms in other ancient cultures. Even more perplexing is the venom delivery method, a piston-like plunger in the reservoir, operated by rotating the scorpion's claws. This level of mechanical sophistication rivals Hellenistic-era devices, yet it predates them by nearly a millennium. Either we've underestimated the technical prowess of New Kingdom artisans, or this artifact preserves knowledge lost in later eras. Today, the silver scorpion sits motionless behind glass, its stinger forever retracted. But in certain lights, the grooves along its tail seem to ripple, as if remembering the lives it took or saved. Whether tool of justice, mercy, or sheer terror, it forces us to confront a civilization that blurred the line between medicine and mortality, between devotion and domination. The scorpion's sting held the power of life and death, and in silver, the Egyptians froze that power forever. Beneath the golden splendor of Tutankhamun's burial chamber, radar pulses revealed a secret that sent chills through the archaeology world, an undiscovered void hidden for over 3,000 years, cradling a second sarcophagus unlike any other. This wasn't the familiar gilded coffin the boy king was known for. This was a sleek obsidian tomb, its surface polished to a mirror's sheen, radiating magnetic distortions so intense they sent compass needles spinning wildly. But the true enigma emerged when researchers noticed the vibrations, touched the sarcophagus, and the stone emitted a low, resonant hum, a frequency matching the ancient Egyptian tuning of 432 Hz, known as the healing tone in later cultures. Was this a coincidence or a deliberate sonic signature designed to resonate with something beyond human hearing? The obsidian itself is a riddle. This volcanic glass, sharper than surgical steel, wasn't native to Egypt. It had to be imported from Ethiopia's highlands, a treacherous journey of over 1,000 miles, yet here it lay, flawless, without a single fracture. Even more baffling are the magnetic anomalies. Scans revealed metallic inclusions within the stone, not random impurities, but concentrated veins of magnetite arranged in geometric patterns resembling the constellation Orion. Tutankhamun's outer coffins aligned with the stars, but this inner layer took celestial mimicry further. The magnetite's pull isn't uniform, it pulses rhythmically as if responding to an unseen force. Some theorists suggest it's a crude attempt to harness Earth's magnetic field, perhaps to guide the pharaoh's soul. Others whisper of something more unsettling, that the sarcophagus wasn't just a container but a receiver. Then there's the sound. When audio engineers recreated the sarcophagus's hum using frequency generators, something extraordinary happened. Test subjects reported vivid hallucinations. Visions of a golden figure speaking in a language that wasn't ancient Egyptian but bore eerie similarities to Proto-Sanskrit. More disturbing, the vibrations caused nearby electronic devices to malfunction. Cameras flickered, audio recorders captured voices where none existed. One technician swore he heard a child's laughter emanating from the obsidian itself. Science struggles to explain it, but ancient texts offer a cryptic clue. The Book of Gates, a funerary text found in other tombs, describes the dead pharaoh's voice as a vibration that shakes the stars. Was this sarcophagus designed to amplify that voice? To project it beyond the grave, the most tantalizing and terrifying detail lies in the void's positioning. The hidden chamber isn't beneath Tutankhamun's tomb by accident. It sits directly along a ley line connecting the Valley of the Kings to the Great Pyramid, a straight channel of energy ancients might have called a path of the gods. Modern geomagnetic surveys confirm the area emits abnormal energy readings, stronger at dawn, as if charged by the rising sun. This, coupled with the sarcophagus's sonic properties, paints a haunting picture. A tomb built not just to house a body, but to transmit something, a prayer, a signal, or perhaps a warning. For now, the obsidian coffin remains sealed, its contents a mystery. But the longer it hums in the darkness, the louder the question becomes: what or who was Tutankhamun's second sarcophagus truly meant to reach? The recordings of the obsidian sarcophagus's vibrations tell a story no hieroglyph could capture: a deep, pulsing 17 Hz hum, a frequency just below human hearing, yet one that bypasses the ears to resonate directly in the bones. When audio engineers first captured these infrasound emissions, they assumed it was an odd quirk of the stone's composition. Then the excavation team started reporting symptoms: unease creeping up their spines, inexplicable dread in the chamber, even visions of a towering figure with the head of a jackal. Science offers a chilling explanation. 17 Hz is the exact frequency known to induce panic in mammals, triggering primal fear responses by vibrating the eyeballs and disorienting the inner ear. Coincidence, or had the ancient Egyptians stumbled upon a sonic weapon, one they mythologized as the voice of Osiris? Infrasound isn't just unnerving, it's manipulative. Modern studies show prolonged exposure can induce trance states, a detail that casts eerie new light on the opening of the mouth ceremony, where priests allegedly channeled the god of the dead to reanimate mummies. Could the sarcophagus's hum have been part of the ritual, a tool to blur the line between the living and the departed? The myths describe Osiris's voice as a wind that shakes the soul, a force that could part the veil between worlds. The more we analyze these recordings, the more literal those descriptions seem. When played back in controlled settings, the 17 Hz frequency caused water molecules in nearby vessels to form strange, spiral patterns mimicking the ancient symbol for the afterlife, the spiral of transformation. But here's what chills researchers to the core: the hum isn't constant. It pulses in cycles of 11 minutes, matching the rhythmic flooding of the Nile's tributaries. This wasn't random vibration, it was engineered, a sonic mirror of Egypt's lifeline. Even more unsettling, the pulses intensify during solar eclipses, as if the coffin responds to celestial events. Did the Egyptians know their sarcophagus could sing with the cosmos? Or was this an accidental byproduct of materials chosen for their spiritual, not acoustic, properties? The psychological toll on the excavation team was undeniable. One worker swore he heard whispers in a language that wasn't Old Egyptian guttural, clicking syllables that linguists later identified as Proto-Saharan, a tongue extinct for millennia. Another described an overwhelming urge to kneel, as if something ancient and vast were pressing down on her shoulders. These weren't hallucinations. Brain scans taken during infrasound exposure show heightened activity in the amygdala, the fear center, and the temporal lobe where mystical experiences are processed. To the ancients, this might have been proof of divine presence. To us, it's a reminder that some technologies, whether by design or accident, can outlive their creators, carrying primal power we're only beginning to measure. Now the sarcophagus sits in a soundproofed lab, its hum muffled but never fully silenced. Some nights, technicians report feeling watched, though the cameras show only stillness. Perhaps Osiris's voice was never meant to be heard by mortal ears, or perhaps, as the myths warned, it was never meant to stop. The Jed Pillar device doesn't just sit on the museum's shelf, it hums with latent energy, its bronze surfaces still gleaming despite millennia buried beneath the sands of Heliopolis. At first glance, it resembles a ceremonial model, a miniature obelisk no taller than a forearm, adorned with intricate hieroglyphs. But touch its segmented sections, and the truth becomes undeniable. These pieces rotate, interlocking with precision that defies the tools of its era. Temple texts speak of a great pillar that channels the sun's breath, a machine capable of lighting the sacred path without flame. For years, scholars dismissed it as myth until this artifact turned metaphor into chilling plausibility. Close inspection reveals grooves along each rotating tier, their edges lined with traces of electrum, that sacred gold-silver alloy Egyptians reserved for objects touched by divinity. The grooves aren't decorative, they're conductive channels arranged in spiral patterns matching descriptions of the celestial ladder found in pyramid texts. When researchers replicated the device's proportions at full scale, something extraordinary happened. Under direct sunlight, the electrum channels focused light into a beam so intense it scorched stone at 100 paces. This wasn't just a model, it was a prototype, a scaled-down blueprint for a technology lost to time. The real revelation lies in the hieroglyphs circling its base. Unlike typical inscriptions praising gods or pharaohs, these read like an instruction manual. One passage details how to align the pillar's facets to the horizon's fire, directing the user to adjust the rotating sections to specific solar angles. Another warns of the pillar's hunger, cautioning against prolonged use lest it drink the sky dry. Modern engineers recognize the language of energy management, a primitive understanding of overheating perhaps, or even radiation. The implications are staggering. Were the priests of Heliopolis harnessing solar power centuries before Archimedes famously set Roman ships ablaze with mirrors? Then there's the mystery of its disappearance. No full-sized Jed pillar has ever been found, yet temple reliefs depict towering versions flanking the god Ra's sanctuary, their peaks crackling with golden light. One fragmented scroll from Akhenaten's reign cryptically mentions their dismantling, ordered by priests who feared the god's fire would blind the unworthy. Was this technology deliberately suppressed, Buried because its power outpaced the civilization's wisdom, the bronze model survived only because it was hidden sealed in a lead-lined chest beneath the temple's foundation, as if someone wanted it preserved but not discovered. Today, the device's rotations are stiff with age, its electrum dulled. But when sunlight strikes it at the precise angle inscribed on its base, the bronze grows warm to the touch and the faintest scent of ozonized air lingers. The ghost of a spark, a machine still remembering how to wake. Cleopatra's missing diadem gleamed under the auction house lights for the first time in 75 years, its platinum strands coiled like a serpent ready to strike. This wasn't just any royal headpiece, its neural-shaped wires, designed to cradle the scalp with eerie anatomical precision, still bore faint traces of a sticky, amber-colored residue. When lab tests identified the substance as a blend of opium, blue lotus extract, and an unknown alkaloid, the whispers began. This diadem didn't just adorn the last pharaoh's brow. It was a delivery system, a crown that could intoxicate its wearer with every pulse of their temples. The theft in 1947 had been shrouded in mystery. Looted from a Cairo museum under cover of wartime chaos, the diadem vanished without a trace until it reappeared in the vault of a reclusive collector who claimed it had been gifted to his grandfather by a Bedouin trader. But Egypt's antiquities ministry wasn't fooled. The collector's story unraveled when conservators noticed something chilling. The diadem's inner wires had been repaired with 20th century solder, masking where someone had clumsily extracted a portion of the residue. Someone had tested its potency. The diadem's design is a marvel of bioengineering. Each platinum tendril terminates in a delicate claw, positioned to press against specific cranial nerves. The occipital, the trigeminal, pressure points known to induce trance states when stimulated. Ancient texts describe Cleopatra's legendary, unfading wakefulness, her ability to debate philosophers and generals through the night without fatigue. Now we know why. The alkaloid in the residue matches descriptions of a lost Alexandrian compound called the mind's wine, said to sharpen senses while dulling pain. It wasn't just a drug, it was a tool of statecraft, allowing the queen to outthink her enemies even as Rome's shadow loomed. Yet the darkest clue lies in the residue's unknown component. Mass spectrometry revealed a molecule with no modern equivalent, its structure resembling a hybrid of scopolamine and serpent venom. Historians recall Plutarch's account of Cleopatra's suicide, how she seemed eerily calm as the asp struck, her final words deliberate, her breathing controlled. Was the diadem's last gift not clarity, but a poison so refined it turned death into a performance? The collector's grandfather had died of a mystery illness in 1963, his notes describing visions of a woman with a crown of fire. The diadem, it seems, never stopped working. Now behind glass in a high-security lab, the platinum coils lie dormant. But on humid days, conservators swear the residue glistens anew, as if remembering the heat of a queen's skin and the secrets it once helped her keep. High in the bent pyramid's northern airshaft, where desert winds howl through limestone channels, a team of restoration workers stumbled upon an object that shouldn't exist, a perfect sphere of clear quartz, cradled in a bronze latticework that suspended it precisely at the shaft's narrowest point. At first glance, it seemed like a ceremonial ornament, perhaps a symbolic representation of the sun. But when dawn light struck its surface on the summer solstice, the crystal came alive. Beams of refracted light splintered into patterns that painted the shaft's walls with geometric symbols, precise angles and intersecting lines that matched the pyramid's most perplexing architectural quirks. This wasn't decoration, it was a key. Testing revealed even more startling properties. The quartz emitted weak but measurable electrical charges when compressed, a phenomenon called the piezoelectric effect, something modern science only began to understand in the 19th century. Yet here was evidence the ancients not only knew of this property but harnessed it. The bronze cradle wasn't just a holder, It functioned as a primitive transducer, vibrating subtly with the pyramid's own resonant frequency during windstorms. The resulting electrical pulses were faint but detectable. Were they meant to power something or send a signal? Then there's the matter of the light itself. The crystal doesn't simply refract sunlight, it filters it. Spectroscopic analysis showed it blocks specific wavelengths, allowing only a narrow band of blue-green light to pass through. This same frequency is found in the so-called blue rooms of certain temples, chambers where initiates underwent vision quests. Ancient texts describe these spaces as bathed in the light that reveals hidden things, a glow said to induce altered states of awareness. Could the crystal have been part of a larger apparatus, projecting this mind-altering luminance through the pyramid's passageways? The placement defies coincidence. The airshaft where the sphere was found aligns with the star Alpha Draconis, a celestial marker the Egyptians associated with cosmic order. But here's what chills researchers most. The shaft also acts as a natural Helmholtz resonator, amplifying specific sound frequencies. When the wind blows at the right velocity, the entire passage hums, a deep subsonic vibration that, when combined with the crystal's piezoelectric pulses, creates an eerie synergy of light and sound. Modern experiments show this combination can induce trance states, sharpening peripheral vision while dulling the sense of time. Was this the pyramid's true function? Not a tomb, but a machine, now removed for preservation. The quartz sphere sits in a climate-controlled vault, its surface dulled by modern air. But on the rare occasions researchers recreate its original alignment, the old magic flickers back to life. Dawn light still bends to its will, painting walls with forgotten mathematics, while the faintest hum lingers in the air, as if the pyramid, even now, is waiting for someone to read its messages in the light. Beneath the Great Sphinx's massive right paw, where centuries of sand had concealed a secret chamber, archaeologists uncovered limestone blocks etched with markings that rewrite our understanding of ancient astronomy. The inscriptions, hidden from view until erosion exposed a fracture in the bedrock, depict a celestial map so precise. It plots the constellations as they appeared not in the age of the pharaohs, but 12,500 years ago, long before recorded Egyptian history. The carvings show Orion's belt tilted at an angle that matches the night sky of 10,500 BCE, alongside a configuration of stars now obscured by millennia of cosmic drift. But the real enigma lies in the text beneath the map, a column of names, each ending with the same chilling phrase, "The Watchers from the Deep." The star map's accuracy defies coincidence. Modern astronomers confirm the positions match a specific date, spring equinox in 10,500 BCE, when the Nile would have flowed several miles west of its current course, and the Sahara was a lush savanna. This wasn't just observational astronomy, it was a snapshot frozen in stone, a memory of a sky no living human had ever seen until now. Some researchers argue the Sphinx's original builders, predating dynastic Egypt by thousands of years, preserved this knowledge through oral tradition until it was finally carved. Others point to the erosion patterns on the Sphinx's body, which suggest water weathering evidence it might indeed hail from a wetter epoch. Then there are the names. The list includes 37 figures, none matching known gods or pharaohs. Each is followed by the same cryptic title, the Watchers from the Deep. Ancient Egyptian texts occasionally mention the Deep Ones, entities said to dwell in subterranean waters, but these are typically dismissed as mythological. Yet the Sphinx's location aligns with underground aquifers, and recent sonar scans reveal vast, water-filled chambers beneath the Giza Plateau. Could the deep be literal? A reference to beings or a civilization existing below the sands, the most unsettling detail is the script itself. While some hieroglyphs are recognizable, others resemble Proto-Sumerian cuneiform, a writing system not developed until millennia later. One symbol recurs like a signature, a spiral with a central dot, identical to markings found in Göbekli Tepe, a 12,000-year-old site in Turkey. The implication is staggering: a connected prehistoric network of cultures, sharing knowledge across continents long before historians believed such exchange possible. Or perhaps something else, a single advanced source now lost to time that left clues in stone for reasons we've yet to fathom. Today, the inscriptions remain shielded from public view, their full transcript withheld by Egypt's Antiquities Ministry. But the fragments leaked to researchers tell a story far older than the pyramids. The Sphinx, it seems, wasn't just a guardian of tombs, it was a librarian, its paw resting atop an archive older than memory itself, a message from the deep waiting for the right moment to surface. The ostracon of the damned isn't just a broken piece of pottery, it's a scream frozen in time, a worker's desperate warning scratched into clay with trembling hands. Unearthed in the ruins of Deir el-Medina, the village housing the artisans who built the royal tombs, this shard bears a message so terrifying, it was buried under a threshold as if to trap its curse beneath the earth. The ink is faded, but the panic is palpable, the hieratic script jagged and uneven, devolving into frantic symbols near the end. The anonymous scribe writes of a night when the king's chamber, likely the newly sealed burial vault of Ramses III, unleashed something none of them could name. It came with the smell of wet stones and old copper. The text begins before describing how workers who'd entered the tomb that morning began collapsing by dusk, their skin blackening like papyrus in flame. Forensic analysis of Deir el-Medina's burial shaft supports the ostracon's claims. Several mass graves from this period contain skeletons with unusual skeletal lesions, their bones streaked with dark mineral deposits. Modern toxicologists identified the culprit, a lethal cocktail of arsenic and decomposed organic matter, likely from a booby-trapped resin or pigment applied to the tomb walls. The thing the worker described wasn't supernatural, it was chemistry. The Egyptians, masters of preservation, had unwittingly weaponized their own knowledge. When the tomb's seal was broken prematurely, airborne toxins mixed with torch smoke, creating an invisible killer. Yet the ostracon hints at something even darker. The scribe recounts how the dying workers began whispering in unison, their voices blending into a language none recognized before their throats swelled shut like rotten fruit. Contemporary medical scrolls describe similar symptoms in cases of ergot poisoning, a fungal infection of grain that causes hallucinations and muscle spasms. But here's the chilling detail: the workers' rations came from a royal granary stocked with grain blessed by the priests of Sekhmet, goddess of plague. Was this divine retribution for disturbing the king's rest, or a deliberate safeguard, poisoning the grain of anyone who might betray the tomb's secrets? The final lines of the ostracon are the most haunting. The scribe, now clearly delirious, claims the surviving workers were ordered to repaint the tomb's interior with the blood of the dead, a phrase initially dismissed as metaphor. But recent spectrographic analysis of Ramses' burial chamber revealed trace amounts of hemoglobin in the plaster, mixed with cobalt and lapis lazuli. The workers, it seems, followed their orders to the letter, sealing their comrades' fate and their own into the very walls they'd built. Today, the ostracon sits in a climate-controlled case, its curses contained. But sometimes, under ultraviolet light, the ink seems to darken, as if remembering the night its writer learned a terrible truth. Some tombs don't just protect the dead. They punish the living. The emerald tablet's fragment doesn't just lie there, it breathes, tucked away in a Coptic monastery's forgotten reliquary. This jagged slice of jade seemed unremarkable until a conservator's ultraviolet lamp revealed its secret. Under the glow, symbols etched into its surface began to move, slithering like serpents across the stone to form entirely new configurations. This wasn't just a relic, it was a living cipher, its glyphs rearranging themselves into the very alchemical formulas described in Hermetic legends. And here's what chills scholars to the bone. The patterns match passages from the mythical emerald tablet of Hermes Trismegistus, a text scholars long believed was purely allegorical until now. The tablet's material alone defies explanation. Jade wasn't just rare in ancient Egypt, it was virtually non-existent. Spectrographic analysis traced this slab's origins to the Kunlun Mountains of China, a journey of over 4,000 miles across uncharted deserts and seas. How did it reach a Coptic monk's hands? The monastery's records offer a cryptic clue, a gift from the Desert Wanderers, a group of hermits said to possess the keys to the first language. And perhaps they did. The UV-reactive ink, a compound of crushed malachite and a yet unidentified phosphorescent mineral, shifts every 42 minutes, mirroring the ancient Egyptian sacred interval of judgment. This isn't just chemistry, it's a timed revelation, as if the tablet itself decides when to share its secrets. But the real shock emerged when linguists decoded one of the shifting configurations. The symbols spelled out a recipe for the white gold of the moon, a substance Hermetic texts claim could purify any metal into silver. Modern replication attempts yielded startling results. When the formula's steps were followed, lead plates submerged in the solution developed a thin, conductive coating resembling graphene, a material impossible to synthesize without 21st century technology. Was this alchemy or a lost science encoded in stone by minds far ahead of their time? The fragment's final twist lies in its imperfections. A diagonal fracture cuts through the jade, but under UV light, the break glows brighter than the surrounding symbols. Microscopic examination revealed the crack is deliberate, a channel filled with a mercury-based alloy that conducts electricity when heated. This wasn't damage, it was a circuit designed to complete a larger apparatus. The monastery's walls may hold the answer. Hidden beneath frescoes of St. Michael, researchers found recesses shaped like the fragment's edges, suggesting this was once part of a greater whole, a device perhaps that didn't just record knowledge but activated it. Now sealed in a light-controlled vault, the tablet continues its silent dance of symbols, shifting unseen in the dark. Each rearrangement hints at deeper layers, formulas for transmutation, even immortality. But the most unsettling question lingers. If this fragment exists, where is the rest, and what might it still be capable of? For centuries, the Dendera zodiac has mesmerized scholars with its intricate mapping of stars and gods across a sandstone ceiling. But recent breakthroughs have revealed this masterpiece hides a secret older than civilization itself. When researchers aimed multispectral cameras at its weathered surface, the stone surrendered a ghostly twin, a second zodiac, fainter but far more precise, painted beneath the visible layer. The constellations here aren't fixed in their familiar ancient positions, they're shifted, aligned to a night sky that won't grace Earth for another 12,000 years. The implications are staggering. Either the Egyptians possessed astronomical knowledge impossible for their time, or they inherited it from a source lost to history. The hidden diagram isn't just a rough sketch, it's mathematically exact. Orion's belt tilts at an angle matching precession models for the year 14,000 AD, while Sirius pulses in a position it hasn't occupied since the last ice age. Even more striking, the ecliptic, the sun's apparent path, is drawn with a wobble modern astronomers call axial precession, a cycle taking 26,000 years to complete. This wobble wasn't formally documented until Hyksos in the 2nd century BC, yet here it was, encoded beneath temple paint millennia earlier. The precision defies coincidence. Whoever painted this didn't just observe the stars, they calculated their dance across epochs. Then there's the mystery of the palette. The original layer uses vibrant blues and golds, but the underlayer is monochrome, rendered in a pigment that fluoresces under ultraviolet light. Chemical analysis revealed it's not Egyptian at all, but a manganese-based compound traceable to the Altai Mountains of Siberia. How did this material reach Dendera? And why hide such a monumental work beneath a simpler version? Some scholars argue the outer layer was symbolic, designed for ritual use, while the underlayer served as a sacred archive. Others whisper of a schism, a faction of priests preserving forbidden knowledge after some cataclysm erased its origins. The most chilling detail lies in the margins. Faint annotations in Proto-Hieratic script label certain constellations with names unrecognizable to modern Egyptology. One recurring glyph depicts a serpent coiled around a staff, not the rod of Asclepius but something far older. It matches carvings in Göbekli Tepe, a 12,000-year-old site predating Egypt by millennia. Could this zodiac be a copy of a far more ancient sky map? A relic from a time when the Sphinx still gazed upon green savannas instead of sand. Now shielded from public view, the Dendera zodiac's hidden layer hums with silent questions. It's not just a map of the future, it's a fingerprint left by minds who saw further than we thought possible. And as the realignment of its stars slowly ticks toward the date it foretells, one can't help but wonder, was this a prophecy, a warning, or a message meant for an era not yet born? The baboon shouldn't have gold teeth. That was the first thought that raced through the anthropologist's mind when the mummy's linen wrappings fell away in the Cairo Museum's lab, revealing a primate skull gleaming with dental work fit for a pharaoh. This wasn't just another sacred animal mummy. This creature's elongated limbs, unusually broad pelvis, and disturbingly human-like facial structure defied every known simian skeleton in the Egyptian record. But the real horror came when the X-ray machine flickered to life, illuminating what shouldn't exist. 7 polished lapis lazuli stones, each precisely embedded along the baboon's spinal column with surgical precision, their placement mirroring the exact pressure points used in modern acupuncture. DNA analysis deepened the nightmare. While most sacred baboons were imported from Punt, modern-day Eritrea, this specimen carried genetic markers matching no living primate, and worse, sequences that registered as partially human. Mitochondrial testing revealed an impossible chimera, a baboon-based genome spliced with unidentified human-like segments, a combination that should have been biologically non-viable. Yet here it lay, its mummified flesh bearing the golden insignia of Thoth, god of wisdom, who was often depicted with a baboon's head. The implication was staggering. Someone in ancient Egypt wasn't just worshipping these creatures. They were modifying them. The lapis implants tell an even darker story. Laser scans showed each stone had been hollowed out, their cores packed with a resinous substance still emitting faint traces of dimethyltryptamine, a powerful hallucinogen found in Amazonian plants half a world away. This was no haphazard burial. The baboon had been turned into a living, breathing, and possibly suffering pharmacological device, its drugged spinal stones positioned to gradually release compounds into its nervous system. Temple texts reference the chattering ones who speak with the voice of gods, baboons reportedly used in oracular rites. Modern science now suggests these weren't metaphors. The animals were being chemically altered to bridge the human and divine, or something far more unsettling. Then there's the gold. Spectrography revealed the dental crowns weren't mere ornamentation. They contained precise ratios of silver and copper designed to act as conductors, their placement along the jawbone creating what electrical engineers recognize as a crude circuit. When moistened with saliva, a detail hinted at in temple rituals requiring the animals to drink sacred water. The metals could generate minor galvanic currents enough to stimulate the mandibular nerve. Combine that with the DMT seeping into the baboon's spine, and you have a creature trapped in perpetual, chemically induced visions, its teeth literally humming with energy. The most haunting question remains, why engineer a baboon into this grotesque oracular machine? A fragmented scroll found near the mummy offers a clue describing the trial of the speaking ones, tests where such creatures allegedly predicted solar eclipses and Nile floods with eerie accuracy. Was this animal cruelty on an industrial scale, or something far stranger? The baboon's mummy doesn't just blur the line between beast and human. It forces us to confront an ancient world where the boundaries of science, religion, and ethics were redrawn in gold and lapis lazuli, one sliced open primate at a time. The Copper Scroll's twin doesn't just mirror its famous counterpart, it unravels it. Found hidden inside a sealed pottery jar near Qumran, this second metal scroll shares the same cryptic script and rugged copper surface as the original Dead Sea treasure, but with one electrifying difference: 12 additional lines etched in a hurried hand, listing locations never before documented. The most chilling entry: directions to a vault beneath the right paw of the lion that is not a lion. A phrase that sent archaeologists scrambling back to the Sphinx with ground-penetrating radar. Unlike the original scroll's focus on temple treasures, this duplicate reads like a contingency plan, a backup for initiates who knew the first might be lost. The writing style is sharper, less ceremonial, as if scribed under duress. One line warns of the sentinel in the water, while another mentions the well that breathes, ominous clues that defy straightforward translation. But the real shock came when linguists noticed subtle dialectal shifts in the Hebrew, suggesting this copy was made decades, maybe centuries after the first, by a sect preserving knowledge even as their world collapsed around them. Then there's the metal itself. While the original scroll was pure copper, this twin contains traces of zinc, an early form of brass, making it more resistant to corrosion. Someone went to extraordinary lengths to ensure this version would outlast the ages. The alloy's composition matches artifacts from the Roman siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, hinting this might have been a last-ditch effort to safeguard secrets before the temple's destruction. But the true enigma is that reference to the lion that is not a lion. The Sphinx, of course, has the body of a lion and the face of a pharaoh. Recent scans beneath its right paw revealed anomalies, a hollow space with geometric angles too precise to be natural. Yet attempts to excavate have been mysteriously halted. Some whisper it's because of what else the scroll describes, not gold or silver, but the first key, an object said to open the way for the righteous and the end for the wicked. Now, as scholars painstakingly decode the rest, one question lingers: was this scroll meant to guide future seekers, or to warn them? The copper still hums with the urgency of its scribe, a voice across millennia refusing to be silenced. The Imhotep blueprint doesn't just sketch ideas, it hums with the ghost of genius. Its cedar wood surface etched with angles and calculations so precise, they make modern engineers pause mid-breath. Discovered wedged between two limestone blocks in a Saqqara storage shaft, this tablet, no larger than a school slate, holds diagrams that defy the era's supposed technological limits. At first glance, the markings resemble typical architectural plans, but tilted toward the light and hidden details emerge. Grooves indicating vibrational frequencies, channels for an unknown liquid, and a peculiar lever system labeled the voice that lifts. This wasn't just a guide for stacking stones. It was a physics lesson carved in wood, a manifesto for manipulating matter itself. The most startling revelation lies in the blueprint's central diagram, a multi-armed lever apparatus resembling a tuning fork positioned beneath a massive block. Accompanying hieroglyphs describe striking the lever with a mallet at specific intervals, creating resonances that make the stone light as reed. Experiments with reconstructed models yielded astonishing results. When the levers were tuned to 60 Hz, a frequency matching the natural vibration of local sandstone test blocks weighing 2 tons could be moved with 1/10 the expected force. The ancients weren't just pushing rocks, they were singing them into place. Then there's the mystery of the channels. Thin, meandering lines crisscross the tablet, labeled with symbols for water, yet ending in sealed basins. Researchers initially assumed these were drainage routes until residue analysis revealed traces of fermented barley and olive oil, a slick, viscous cocktail. When replicated and poured into sand-cut trenches, the mixture reduced friction coefficients by nearly 40%, allowing sledges to glide with eerie ease. But the real breakthrough came when the liquid was exposed to vibrational frequencies from the sound levers. The substance thickened into a near-solid state, locking stones in place mid-movement. This wasn't mere lubrication, it was programmable matter, a temporary solid that could be turned on and off like a switch. What chills historians isn't the blueprint's sophistication, it's its loneliness. No other tablets from this era show such advanced mechanics, suggesting Imhotep's knowledge was either fiercely guarded or tragically lost. The cedar's provenance deepens the intrigue. Dendrochronology traces the wood to the vanished forests of Lebanon, a region famed for its singing trees, cedars whose resonant timber was prized for musical instruments. Was the blueprint's material part of its function, a living amplifier for the sound technology it described? Modern attempts to use the system have met with mixed success. While the physics checks out, replicating the exact frequencies and liquid consistency proves maddeningly elusive, as if the blueprint is missing some unspoken ingredient. Perhaps that's why the tablet was hidden, not entombed. Its final hieroglyph, tucked in a corner like an afterthought, offers a cryptic clue. The stone listens only when the sky is watching. Was this a reference to celestial alignment, or a warning that some knowledge once unleashed couldn't be taken back? Today, the cedar sits in a humidity-controlled vault, its surface slowly crumbling. Yet on quiet nights, conservators swear the wood hums faintly when the museum's clocks strike midnight, as if remembering the song that once made mountains dance. The dwarf pharaoh's armor shouldn't exist not just because of its impossible metallurgy, but because history insists no such ruler ever sat on Egypt's throne. Yet here it is, a corselet no taller than a child's chest, its overlapping scales shimmering with a bluish sheen unlike any known ancient alloy. Discovered in a hidden vault beneath Abydos's temple complex, the armor was tucked behind a false wall inscribed with a single cryptic phrase: "He who was denied the sky shall inherit the earth." Initial testing revealed the unthinkable: this metal, still unnamed by modern science, withstands pressures 30% greater than aerospace-grade titanium, yet weighs half as much. But it's the wear patterns that haunt researchers. The interior lining bears grooves where something or someone much denser than human flesh once pressed against it. Spectrographic analysis deepened the enigma. The alloy contains copper, arsenic, and an unidentified element with atomic properties defying the periodic table's known boundaries. Trace amounts of osmium, a metal so rare and dense it's found mostly in meteorites, lace the scales, suggesting celestial origins. Yet the craftsmanship is undeniably Egyptian. Each scale bears the cartouche of a pharaoh absent from all official king lists: Nebui the Small, a ruler whose name translates ominously to Lord of the Narrow Path. Temple reliefs nearby depict a procession of priests carrying a diminutive figure atop a golden litter, their faces twisted in what might be reverence or terror. The armor's design raises disturbing questions. Its articulated joints allow flexibility no human warrior would need, with hinges that pivot in ways suggesting the wearer's limbs bent differently than ours. The helmet's eye slits are circular, positioned for a gaze that looked straight ahead without tilting, a trait found in nocturnal predators, not humans. Most chilling are the microscopic scratches inside the wrist guards, arranged in patterns resembling the frantic clawing of something desperate to escape its own protection. Legends from Abydos speak of a king in the walls, a being who ruled from the shadows after being unmade by the gods. Modern excavators initially dismissed this as folklore until they found the armor's accompanying sarcophagus. Empty but not unused, the interior was coated in a thick, blackened residue that forensic teams identified as a mix of myrrh and something else, a protein sequence matching no known creature, yet eerily close to human. Was Nebui a genetic anomaly, a divine punishment, or something else entirely, armored in metal that outlasts civilizations, waiting even now to be understood? The armor's final secret lies in its durability. Despite being buried for millennia, not a single scale shows corrosion. Laboratory attempts to replicate the alloy have failed spectacularly. One batch erupted in a cold blue flame when exposed to electricity, another dissolved upon contact with Nile water. It's as if the metal itself refuses to be tamed by modern hands, guarding secrets as fiercely as it once guarded its enigmatic wearer. Today, it sits in a vibration-proof case, humming faintly during thunderstorms, as if remembering the clash of battles fought under a sky that denied its king. The Eye of Horus mechanism lies in pieces on the conservator's table, 27 fractured bronze gears, each no larger than a thumbnail, their edges blackened by centuries in the Nile's embrace. At first glance, they resemble discarded jewelry, but when researchers began reconstructing the jigsaw under magnification, the truth emerged: this was no ornament. The interlocking teeth formed a miniature cosmos, with gear ratios corresponding to lunar cycles, planetary orbits, and even the predictable flooding of the river itself. The smallest cog, etched with a falcon's eye, Horus's sacred symbol, rotates precisely every 29.5 days, mirroring the moon's phases with eerie accuracy. Divers found the device near the ruins of Thonis Herakleion, a port city swallowed by the sea, its parts scattered like breadcrumbs along an ancient trade route. The bronze still carries traces of saltwater corrosion, but the engineering remains intact. Each gear moves with silken precision, their axles tipped with minuscule sapphire bearings to reduce friction. This wasn't cobbled together by trial and error. It was mathematics rendered in metal, a celestial clockwork compact enough to fit in a sailor's palm. The real question isn't just how it worked, it's why something so advanced left no trace in the historical record. One theory points to the gear's unusual composition. Spectroscopy revealed the bronze alloy contains volcanic glass from Santorini, a material Egyptians associated with the destructive fury of the gods. Was this mechanism too dangerous to replicate? Temple texts speak of a flying eye that could measure the heavens, but warn against its misuse. Modern engineers discovered why. When the central gear is spun at high speeds, the sapphire bearings emit ultrasonic frequencies inaudible to humans, but capable of disorienting certain fish species. Was this a tool for navigation or a weapon to clear waters of threats like Nile crocodiles? The most haunting detail lies in the device's incompleteness. 27 gears suggest a complex function, but reconstructions always leave one slot empty, a missing piece that, if added, would complete a gear train linking all planetary movements. A scroll fragment found nearby mentions the eye that sees beyond, hinting at a lost component, perhaps a lens or prism. Without it, the mechanism remains a beautiful enigma, its full potential locked in the silt of history. Now reassembled behind glass, the gears occasionally shift on their own, their bronze expanding slightly in humid air. Some claim it's mere thermodynamics. Others swear the falcon's eye twitches toward the window on moonless nights, as if searching for constellations its creators once charted. Either way, the message is clear: the Nile hasn't surrendered all its secrets. Some still turn, silent and patient in the dark. The false door of Saqqara doesn't just stand there, it breathes. Carved from a single slab of limestone, this seemingly decorative portal in an otherwise unremarkable tomb radiates an unnatural chill, dropping temperatures by nearly 15 degrees in its immediate vicinity. Visitors swear the cold isn't just physical. It clings like a presence, seeping into clothing and bones with an insistence that defies explanation. But the true horror emerged when paranormal investigators, drawn by local legends of the door that speaks, left a recorder running overnight. The playback revealed something impossible, a chorus of voices chanting in Old Egyptian, their words too crisp, too clear to dismiss as wind or echo. Linguists identified the phrases as funerary invocations from the 5th dynasty, rituals meant to guide the dead, spoken in a dialect dead for millennia. Ground-penetrating radar peeled back another layer of the mystery. Behind the false doors, ornate carvings, scenes of offerings to Osiris. The stone concealed a hollow space, and beneath that, a spiral staircase plunging into bedrock. The design is unlike any other funerary architecture in Saqqara. Most tombs descend in straight shafts or ramps, but this staircase coils like a serpent, its steps narrowing as they twist downward, suggesting a path meant for something or someone with a very specific gait. Thermal scans show the air inside the shaft is unnaturally cold, even for underground spaces, with pockets of near-freezing temperatures that shift position when rechecked hours later, as if something moves through the darkness. The door's inscriptions offer cryptic clues. Along its lintel, a line of hieroglyphs warns, "The way opens for the silent one," while the threshold bears grooves too deep and precise to beware from foot traffic, more like claw marks or the repeated dragging of something heavy. Most chilling is the door's central panel, depicting a priest holding what appears to be a mirror. Infrared photography revealed this mirror is actually a thin sheet of polished hematite, a magnetic stone Egyptians associated with the afterlife. When tapped lightly, it vibrates at a frequency that matches the EVP recordings, as if the door itself is a crude resonance chamber, amplifying sounds from the void beneath. Attempts to explore the staircase have been met with bizarre resistance. Drones lowered into the shaft mysteriously lose power at 20 meters down, their cameras capturing only a single frame before failing, a flash of what might be another door, its surface etched with stars. Those who have stood near the false door for too long report waking the next morning with vivid dreams of descending steps that never end. Their ears ringing with chants they somehow understand, commands in a language they've never studied, urging them to bring the key. What lies beyond the door isn't just a physical space, it's a threshold of sound and temperature, a place where the past doesn't just whisper, it repeats. And that staircase, it doesn't just descend, it waits, from golden whispers of lost technology to the silent hum of an obsidian sarcophagus. These artifacts don't just belong to history, they rewrite it. Each piece we've uncovered today shatters the neat timelines of textbooks, forcing us to ask, how much of ancient Egypt's true brilliance was buried, erased, or deliberately hidden? The Djed Pillar's solar conduits, the Dendera Zodiac's future star maps, even the baboon mummy's bioengineered agony, none of these fit the narrative of a civilization bound solely by torchlight and copper tools. They speak instead of a world where science and spirituality weren't rivals, but partners in unlocking forces we're still struggling to name. Think of the implications. The emerald tablet's shifting formulas suggest alchemy wasn't just mystical metaphor, it was an advanced chemistry encoded in jade. The false door's phantom chants hint at acoustic technologies that could manipulate perception or perhaps even dimensions. And Ramses' meteorite dagger, it's more than a weapon, it's a receipt from the cosmos, proof that the Egyptians didn't just study the stars, they harvested them. These aren't anomalies, they're breadcrumbs leading to a history far stranger and far more sophisticated than we've been taught. But here's the most thrilling part, this is just the beginning. Ground-penetrating radar has uncovered 27 new chambers beneath the Giza Plateau, their contents still a mystery. Satellite imagery reveals hundreds of unexcavated sites in the Western Desert, their layouts echoing the celestial patterns of the Dendera map. And deep within the Cairo Museum's vaults, thousands of artifacts remain uncatalogued, their secrets waiting for fresh eyes and new technologies to reveal them. The next decade of Egyptology won't just fill gaps, it may explode our understanding entirely. Now we turn to you. Which of these artifacts reshapes your vision of the ancient world most dramatically? Was it the solar lens with its power to brand truth into flesh? Or the copper scroll's twin pointing to vaults still unopened beneath the Sphinx? Drop your theories in the comments because history isn't set in stone. It's a conversation, one that grows richer with every fragment we reclaim from the sands. The pharaohs may be dust, but their legacy, it's just beginning.